Good day to all of us, all KMers around the world. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you will be. Today I will be speaking about working with documents, because we speak a lot about knowledge, but when we come to knowledge management, a lot of our knowledge, the organizational knowledge, is already in some ways documented. And even though it doesn't have the glory of the tacit knowledge, it also has to be handled, spoke about, treated in the proper way. I will even go today and take unpopular type of knowledge of documents, speaking about guidelines, procedures of work, SOPs, and trying to deal with this hot potato, seeing what we can do with them, because not always we really utilize the information, the knowledge that they include. But before I start, I want to update you people on a change that was not it was only the last minute change. So we didn't update our syllabus. We are not adding another another session or changing the content of the sessions. However, and I will share my screen just a minute, we will have a change in the order, a slight change in the order, and I will share my screen so you can see in a minute. Here we are. Next week, we were supposed to be speaking about collaboration in the new virtual world. However, Olga from Russia is in kind of uneasy situations these days. All our friends in Russia and Ukraine are all in very non-convenient, non-eased situations. They are all very busy with their families, with all kinds of changes, with the war, wherever they're in Russia or in Ukraine. So as to Olga's request, first of all, we're sending all of us peace and fast wherever you are. But as a request, we exchanged the order, and we will speak next week about ISO 3041 implementation. Dr. Randir Pushpa and myself will be speaking about the ISO standard and its implementation. I promise to tell you things that are not in the standard itself, from behind the scenes. And we will postpone Olga's session about collaboration in the new virtual world to the ending of our course, the week of June 14th. So first of all, I assume that you all understand why we have some situations that we have to change things. And again, I'm calling you everyone, whether they want an ISO 3041 in their organization, or they don't need it, or it's irrelevant to them. Please stay curious, stay attended. I'm inviting you to come also next week, because I'm not only going to speak to those who need the standard and want it now. Okay, so that was an appetizer, spoiler for next week. And let us start with the materials of this week. Rudolf, just a minute. Rudolf, are you out there? Rudolf, I don't see Rudolf now. I need Rudolf because I need someone to help me. If someone can take, John, can you be in charge, John Lewis, and help me and track and see if there are any chats, any questions on the chat?
Okay, I'll watch the chats.
Thank you, Thank you, John. So just pop in and come up with the questions or the sayings, so I can be concentrated, be focused on the presentation itself. Okay, so if we spoke about the spoilers, I'm going to start with a spoiler from one of the sessions that we didn't yet have. Balaji will be speaking within a few weeks about the idea of presentations on and UX, user experience. And one of his slides, I'm here offering a spoiler, says that we should not write everything in documents. Write only if you have to. Enable interactions, talk to the user, not a faceless user base. So not everything has to be documents, but I do want to ask you, in what cases should we use the documents? And in order to answer this question, I am now opening Mentimeter, and you see my slide. And if someone can copy it to the, or I'll copy it to the chat, the number of the Mentimeter, in order to activate it, please go to menti.com and use the code 503-87-404 and answer your, whatever you think. In what cases should we use documents? A word, 2 words, you can answer more than one question, give more than one answer. Let's wait a minute. Yes, standards of procedures. Thank you. What else do we need documents? Guidelines, legal checklists. Yes, what else? Regulatory, when a record is needed. Great, reference documents. We want to document stuff, that's nice. We need instructions. We need transitions. Okay, maximum sharing. I will stop, I will wait 20 seconds and then I'll stop. I'll let you end and add. Good practices, policies. In order to enable maximum sharing, guideline is more bold, do's, don'ts. Let us stop because we have many additional things. I will now take the picture of what we wrote and we will add it. And we will add it to our presentation. I promise we will have another review later on. So these are different cases in which we want to use, am I on the right place? No, I'm sorry, again. Let's retry here. These are good cases when we want to use documents. And I want to give the criteria because many of you gave examples. Part of you gave criteria, what to consider, and part of you, but many gave examples. So when we need to have an organizational memory to share things, to remember things, sometimes we need it for regulation. Sometimes we need it because we have official information. Sometimes it's a way to capture more effectively our knowledge. And it's a way to enable asynchronous work together. And that is what we want to speak about today. How in these cases where we need documents, we have someone asking something on the chat.
Yes, Maria, did you see the chat question? Do you consider a wiki a document?
Okay, that is tricky. Let's say no. It has some characteristics of a document, but not all of them. And what I will be speaking today, part of the things I will say is relevant also to wikis. Part is not because it has only partial attributes of a document. For example, one change when we compare to documents, documents are like black boxes. We can use templates, but they're really black boxes. And wikis, if we build them in the right way, or internet pages, website pages, or wiki specifically, they have a structure and we know them, the entity, the object that we know, the smallest object is not the wiki page itself, but the field inside it. So it has partial, partial attributes are as documents, partial or not. And for the sake of this meeting, I'll say no, but part of the things that I say will be also relevant. So I want to speak about writing better understood documents, and I want to start with the Hard ones, speaking about procedures and structures, guidelines, SOPs, the hard stuff that we all have that are unpopular. And here I want to ask you the second question. We're going back to the same Menti and the same place we were a minute ago, the same code. And I will just open the second question. Here, let's go on. Let's present the second question. We are still in the same place. What do you think workers in your organization think when they come across procedures and guidelines, SOPs? What do you think? Are they thrilled? Are they happy? Are they exhausted? I see that Andreas is laughing or smiling, or at least his picture is. Okay, it's too long to read, long too much. It helps to memorize, it's tedious. They will ignore it. I need to do this. It's boring. We have more than one boring. We have more than one long. Reassured, worldly, and we can go on and on if anyone wants to add. Lazy to read, wow. Okay, we are a bit, I asked what they think. Caged. They think that these documents are outdated and we can continue on and on. I see that we have, are they inclined to read it well? Yes, it depends. Okay, now I will stop because I think that we got the idea. And again, I will keep our memory, what we thought, and I will put it into our shared board. But if I go back to my presentation, also here, and also in other organizations, more people have negative thoughts about procedures, guidelines, etc. And let's say, wow, thank you, it's important, as you already said. Now, main challenges, I'll go through it rather quick. I'm basing my sayings on the JCI. JCI, if some of you are aware of them, are the Accreditation Association, in charge of the accreditation for hospitals and medical centers. And they check the issue because, of course, when you're speaking about accreditation, like when you're speaking about standardization, you are based a lot on the procedures and guidelines. So they asked themselves, what are the main challenges in organizations? And they said, and these are the main things. Some are not updated. We're going today on the opposite direction. So we will be a bit unpredicted. Too many say that they are wordy. Many say that they are not easy to locate. They are too general. They're not always applicable. Not easy to navigate within the document itself. They are lengthy and it's not easy to navigate. They are too official. They're not consistent in the way they're written. Not easy to understand. But I'll say the truth, there are some things that are a bit repeat themselves, but we have here a problem. We really have here a problem. And the problem is, the catch is that the procedures are important. Because if they were not important, I would say, what the hell? We hate them. Everyone hates them. Let's ignore them. But they are important because they represent two things: what we must do and the best practices that we think that the organization wants to know what is beneficial for us to do. And that's why we're dealing with them today. And I'm going through this rather quick because up till now, I just told you, I demonstrated what you probably know. But the problem is that writing good understood procedures is not easy, but it is our responsibility as knowledge managers. So we will now break out to breakout rooms, and Anat, please share the link to the share out rooms. And we are trying to use our collective wisdom as to ways to help our organization write better understood procedures of work. And what we're saying is not only for procedures of work, but official long documents. How do we help them write them better? Please share your tips. 8 minutes starting almost now. I will open our breakout rooms and we may begin. Oh, I didn't open them. I just looked at them. Here they're opened. Please start joining.
recorded.
Here we are back. I hope we didn't lose some that are afraid of we speaking about documents. Okay, so let's share a bit what you thought and what you can teach us, because there are a lot of great things out here. I won't go through all of them, but I'll pass some of them. Sometimes it's good in the document to have also a reference to the person who can guide and can help. It's important that we tell people the purpose. Sometimes we can use it with other techniques, not with documents. I want to add from here, sometimes consider using professional editors, people who know how to write. I'm going on. Use short sentences. I have to say that it's okay, but bullet points may be tricky because it's not a presentation, and when we write an SOP or a guideline or a standard or a procedure, it has to be very accurate. Split the content. I love it. Having the most frequent case studies or use cases in the top and the rest later. Don't try putting everything in. Have the audience in mind. I found it a few times also upper. Think with the user in mind. I'm going on. Use KM however you understand, in all the ways that knowledge management can help. Use graphical representation in a standard, in a procedure. Yes, I'll show you how. I'm leaving videos because now we're speaking video. Decide if you want to add case studies. Remember, if it's an official document, it's not always permitted. Sometimes we have to put it in the annex. Visualization, we speak about it. Well structured. I found several people speaking about the structure, and I want to show you my idea or our idea how it can be done. Theory and best practice depends on the side. Add a table of contents. I want to refer to it. Visualization. End user's point of view. We spoke about, think about your audience. It was not that easy. Oh, thank you. Someone is still writing. Sample sheets, high level approach, good structure, we said it, categorization and structure. I think that we covered it all. So now I'm going back, no, not to the example, but to the presentation. And I want to define our purpose, our objective for today, to help us all write even more valuable documents that will be understood and followed. Because too many times I see that people, I'm not saying how to find the file. We have a document management system and we all know how to organize content. But once I got to the file or to the page or to the item, and it can be also a wiki in part of the things, how do people find their way within the document so they will understand it and really follow it? And of course, it has to be valuable. And the first tip I want to give myself, the first recommendation, and I will explain, is every time I go to write a new procedure of work that we work with some customers on a procedure of work with inside the organization, we think about it in terms of strategy. And I will explain what I mean. We ask ourselves the 4 questions: the why, the who, the what, and the how. I won't go here into everything because some are straightforward and there's no reason for going into them and expanding. But I want to speak about the why, because too many times I find that people say the objective of this process of work, let's say a process of work on, let's say, taking images or of going out to vacations, is to document the way that people go on vacations or should go on vacations. Great, hooray. What's new here? Nothing. I took the name of the procedure, I wrote it in order to document, in order to settle the way that we do this and that process. Too many times, I'll go to the example here, example. The OE documents in NASA Earth Science Enterprise procedure is for reviewing and approving office work instructions. Oh my God. I can take, instead of office work instructions, a different name of a process and stick it in instead of these 3 words, and I will get the same purpose. What added value did I get? What added value did I give the reader? So what am I trying to say? When we want to start with a document, whether to write it or whether to serve it to the reader, first of all, we have to ask ourselves, what is the end result? Let's imagine the what if people will work office work instructions, or whatever we said, they will do properly. What will happen the day after? What is our focused objective? What is the vision that we can see in our eyes if they work correct? And always we think in the terms of the process, not the document that documents the process, that says what the process is doing. So this was a bad example. I'll give you a better example. This was a bad one. Let's give a better one. We have here a procedure that deals with control documents. What's the purpose? To assure the quality-related document affecting work activities and show evidence of review and approval by authorized personnel. I would shorten it, but here they are really speaking about the objective of the process, not of the document that is speaking, is demonstrating, is visualizing the process. And that is my first tip. Whenever you start, think about the why and think about it in terms of the process itself and focus as much as you can. I won't speak about the audience because that's an easy one. So it goes without saying that users is not audience, and we have to see who has to act upon it, and we have to define it when we start writing, and when we think on how to serve it. Where will it help us? It will help us mainly 2 slides from now, when we will ask ourselves, on 1 slide from now, what do they have to know, the audience, and how it would be the most easy way for them to consume the content. So it's not a challenging question, who is the audience, but we must refer to it in order to ensure that the audience, we have them in mind. As you said, that we have the end user in mind, we have the audience in mind in order to choose the right what for him. And in order, and again, I'm just showing it and I'm running on because I want to continue. And in order to show the how, and in order to design how we serve him the content. I will stop a minute because I see that there are all kinds of questions here. We are banned from using graphics in procedures and policies. It must be text only. Dear guys, I have many organizations that told me the same, but they when they consider it as a diagram and not as a picture or an icon, they approve it. So sometimes it's a matter of branding. Okay, that's about visuals. I see that everything's okay. I just want to go back. I'm sorry. Now, I want to go back to this one. Too many times when I looked in the internet and I looked in different organizations, I found the same template because people say, okay, let's use one template for all procedures and everything will be unified. It will be easy. It will be the same. What great knowledge management. And I want to say to you here, and I'm looking for the words because I don't want to use improper words. You know what? I'll use one improper word. Put your hands on your ears so you don't hear it. This template sucks. Now you can take off your hands off your ears. It's not a good template, because what does it do here? This typical template that we find everywhere for guidelines, for procedures, for standards. It takes the purpose and the scope and the prerequisites and the responsibilities and the reference and the definitions, and each one gets a chapter, and all the process, all the procedure itself is in one chapter. So it takes the most important part and it makes it that small. And that's a mistake that we find again and again. So let's ask not what not to do, but what should we do? How can we organize the content in order to ensure understanding? And the first tip, the first recommendation in this model, in this methodology that I want to offer you, is to differentiate the core chapters via the surrounding chapters. What are surrounding chapters? References, objectives, definitions, training, etc., etc. There are some times where training is important, it's core, but in 90% it's not. And then ask yourself, how do we organize the core chapters? So first of all, what are those? The surrounding ones, the idea, the introduction, the objectives, the scope, the definitions, the forms, the related document, the annexes, etc., the references, etc. All of these I put on the front page and let them have they're less bold. They are very quiet. They are very minor. And then I give the idea the first place, the topic and the idea, so everyone would find them. By the way, once we were used to having this procedure number and topic and name and everything on every page. Why did we have it on every page? Because people would print the documents. Now that they are not printed, but used by through reading in the computer or in the tablet, we can have it only on the first page. But we take the first parts and we put them only as a surrounding, and we leave the place, we leave the major place, we want the table of contents to include only the main chapters, and they will be bold. And in order to define the main part, the core components, I like using mind maps. And I like using mind maps in a generalized way, because a mind map is a diagram that is used to visually organize information or visually describe information. Now, when I look at the narrow definition, it is specifically something that looks like a hierarchy, and I think I would say the truth, I hate it. Because people love these diagrams. They say, oh, we feel very creative and we feel very brainstorming and we feel that we explain everything. But what is the price? What happens with all these mind maps, the way they are described? Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. Look at this one. We cannot really understand what's going on. I'll tell you, Rudolf was speaking about design thinking a few weeks ago, and he gave an example saying that the table of contents, or the inner cover, you have an outside cover, and then you have an inner cover, and you have a map mind of all the ideas in the book. But I will tell you the truth. I looked at it and I said, you cannot understand anything in it. So yes, we want to visualize using a formal or an enabled way. We want to visualize the content, but not every visualization, not every mind map is good. I'll show you an example, an existing example, and what we'll do, and what we suggest to do in this methodology. And here I'm taking a real procedure of work that we handled on cardiopulmonary resuscitation. I hope I pronounced it sort of okay. And this is the current way we found the document. It had something like 12 plus 16, 28 chapters. As we saw, references, general definitions. Okay, here we have something to the core. Calling the resuscitation team. Responsibilities, we go back to the surrounding. Principles, something in between. Reporting, that's important. Means, what's means? Checking the readiness, maintaining quality assurance. These are important. Training. And then we have 16 additional chapters. I didn't show you all of them. Let's skip a few weeks further. And this is the table of contents. This is our map mind in the general way we see map minds as visualizing diagram. If you want to understand how really to run or what you have to do with resuscitations, you have to understand two things. What to do when the event is now happening and what to do after. When it's happening now, you have to identify the situations where I have to call, where really we have now a problem and we have to call the crew. And we have guidelines how to identify and guidelines who to call and where and how. We have additional 2 things to notice. And each one of them is a chapter, minus chapter. What to do when this event happens in a medical unit, and what to do if it happens outside. Outside can be not only outside a building, it can be also in, let's say, in a cafeteria or in a training room where it's not, I don't have the medical assistance. This is very important, but this is only half of the procedure. If you want to understand what the procedure speaks about, what the process speaks about, you have to understand that in order to succeed, you not only have to know what to do when the event happens, but what to do after. Because the reporting is critical, because the refilling is critical, because the maintaining of the wagon is critical. Because if I don't refill the wagon, next time I will have an actual event, I can do whatever is said there, but I won't succeed. The user will die. So that is why these chapters are important after, just as those that are important in the event. And in some cases, later on, I have a debriefing. You can see now that even though I'm not a medical personnel, I can explain you this process in 3 minutes and you understand. And of course, we always have a quality assurance. There's no S here. Quality assurance process that accompanies us in all stages. And the training here is very critical in order for people to know how to identify, how to call, how to do, how to report, etc. So this is one example. I will give us another example. This is a book that many of you may have read, but I believe that all of you heard about. James Surowiecki, legendary book about wisdom of the crowds. And I took his book and I went into Google or into Amazon, I'm sorry, and I took the table of contents. It was easier than taking from my actual book. Let's see the table of contents. Wisdom of crowds, the difference makes, waggle dances, bay of pigs, and value of diversity. Okay. Monkey see, monkey do, imitation, information, cascades, independence. Putting the pieces together, CIA, Linux, art of decentralization. Shall we dance? And I can continue on and on. This is the actual table of contents. But this table of contents does not explain us the process. It doesn't help the user use the document. Let's see what we did with it. You want to understand what the wisdom of crowds speaks about? So here's the concept of the wisdom of crowds. You have to understand 3 enabling conditions, because the wisdom of crowd is not a principle that is 100% correct in 100% of the situations. You have to have independence between the different instances. You have to have a diversity. These go both top down, and you have to have an aggregation of the different instances in order to learn. Where is it applicable? In decision types, it is relevant in decision types of coordination, cooperation, and thinking. And great examples can be scientific world and world of organizations. You understand how in 2 minutes I explained you the concept. Now, dear people, dear audience, dear KMers, there's 2 things that we do with this map. A, we used it in order for people to understand, 3 things. A, to understand if they came to the right process, to the right document. B, to understand what it says in simple words, in simple visualization in 2 minutes. And C, and that is the most important to my belief, in order to come again and again. Because we found in organizations, and I even have a research on that users tend to return to the documents that are written in this manner. Because if now I have a question, I say, oh, I have a cooperation decision type. What is it important for me to know? And I click it and I know what to do. And it happened to me again and again. I remember this lady on high heels asking me, oh, this is a procedure on going abroad from to a different country on the expense of the organization. I go every 2 months. What don't I know that I should know? And I'm asking her, I know what you don't know? See the mind map. And she looks at it and says, wow, the telephone. I didn't see, or the visa, they all know, but the telephone, the smartphone, I didn't do whatever is required. So in 1 minute, she clicks on it, and even if it's on Word, it's a clickable document. It looks like a diagram, so people are not upset with it, also in formal organizations. And in 1 minute, she's in a specific small chunk of information, and she knows the answer. Now you can tell me, yes, we have that also when we have a table of contents, but no. First of all, table of contents is always is coming in a hierarchical manner. This sometimes has relations. Sometimes will have arrows. Sometimes I will have different types of icons. Sometimes I will have different connections that are displayed through the diagram that is built wisely. This is a third example, but I won't go into it. And I want to remind us all, this mind map is rather helpful. It helps the writer and it helps the reader. It helps the writer in order to prioritize the content that should get a full chapter, that should be enlarged, that should be expanded, rather to those who should be mentioned or even nulled, delimited. It helps him to decide as to the quantity we write about anything. It helps him to organize the document. It helps him think how to organize, how to plan the document. It helps the reader in order to revisit, as I explained, and in order to navigate, and in order to better understand. There were 2 questions. John says that it's not a mind map for him. Okay, so delete the word mind map, call it a wise diagram. Also, Miro started also only with mind maps, and today they have 10 different types of diagrams. Call it whatever you wish, but use it however you wish. I call it, it's not a mind map, I call it an understanding map, because it takes a very good example. It shows you using visualization how you actually understand better, whatever you call it. I don't care how you brand it or how you call it. Some rules of thumb to whatever this name is. You can call it also chicken. Not always a picture is better than 1,000 words. Less is more. We put a great deal into asking ourselves what will be in it and what will be out. When we start, there are so many icons and so many parts in this diagram, and we ask ourselves again and again how it will be easy for the user to consume it, and how will it be easy to understand what's going on. What should be delimited, what should be in, what should be small, what should be big. And remember, only the core chapters get represented in this diagram. Others do not. Remember about double codification. When we have a mind map or some other visualization, it should help us to understand. It could be there only, putting things in a diagram. I can take every table of contents and turn it to the diagram. But we have to really see how we help also our right hemisphere and our left hemisphere work together. And if we can add icons, in some cases, it's even greater. Think customer design in the user perspective. Before I end, I want to show you the full document. So I really didn't, this is the first page, but later on, I take each chapter, each white part here, each component of the diagram, and each one gets a chapter. I'll show it to you, and don't be worried in Hebrew, because here it's really working. And you see that if I want to go to I want to ask myself a specific question, I can click on it and we'll go to the specific place. Everyone, we try having it limited to 1 page maximum, wherever we can. We always have a return, we always have a return button bringing us back to the main page, because that way you can ask a question. Now it's not. You can, now I'm not, okay. You can ask a question, you can read it chapter after chapter, but you can also read only and visit only the chapter that you need, the paragraph you need, the nugget you need. Using these borders eases the people reading it, because they know it eases writing, because it makes the writer be more short, be more concise, because he knows he has to put everything almost in 1 page. But it also helps the user because he has the psychological understanding that we are not going to be lengthy, that we are very concise. So both of them enjoy. It helps them understand that this is all whatever we want to say about it.
Moria,
and of course, yes.
There was a question about tools. With the concept maps, we use different tools. You're saying the tool you use is just Word itself to create this?
Okay. Yes, we can. Yes, of course we can use. Yes, and thank you for the question. Of course we can use highly sophisticated tools. In some organizations, we take the procedures and we even put them on an internet, and each nugget is a different page. And when you want to print the document, you get all pages together. But 90% of the organizations use only Word. Of course, they save it later on as PDFs. So it will be readable only and not updatable. But in order to really prepare it, all you need is Word. When I use these borders, I don't use insert shape, but I use insert a table with 1 column and 1 row and no title. It's the most flexible, and it helps us use it. And then we build it with Word only, and we save it as PDF, and you get all functionality with simple hyperlinks within the document. Of course, you have something sophisticated, you have a tool for content editing or content management, great, use it. But also, if you do not have it, you can work here properly. Additional questions? Confluence, yes. Of course, in Confluence, we find it for different levels for different usages. But most organizations, I found them using it in Confluence only in order to say, what document do I need? And not within the document itself. So what I'm saying here, and that's one thing. And the second thing that I want to say here is when I do it, I differentiate and I take out all the surrounding parts, and you see, and they get less attention. People are not disturbed with them. I found someone once document speaking about a guideline, a procedure even, speaking about buying and selling and renting the buildings, because it's a large organization with something like 50,000 employees in 40 different countries. And they had a procedure about how do you maintain the building, not maintain, how do you sell, rent, and of course, purchase new buildings. And I found more chapters speaking about the surrounding. How do I appoint someone? How do I train him? Who approves the procedure? Instead of concentrating and focusing on the content itself. So this way, we separate them, we differentiate the surrounding of the content, and we give the right focus and the right organization to the content itself. And that's why we consider it as a contrast to good documents, also to plan and write them better, and also consume them, navigating better within them, understanding the components better, understanding the content better. And if we have these three components, we have higher level of use, of application. And that's what we're looking for. Any additional question? Okay. So that was something a bit different, because we speak about high-level methodologies and culture, and we speak about soft things. And today we went to a different place and spoke about technical issues, about the dirty work. But we believe as the team, when we try to think what should be included and what should not be included, that this type of content is also important, because we also have to deal with the dirty and unpopular work. So I hope that you enjoyed or learned or both. And if anyone has more questions, I can show him research that I wrote about it or additional materials. And of course, we have some of these also in the additional reading materials that are at the end of the presentation. Any more questions?
Maria, there's a question about, it says, if we say something like a procedure, it tends to be talking about standard procedures that need to be complete. How do we add to this additional procedures where it ignites an innovation by critical thinking?
Okay, we add the critical thinking and the innovation to the way we, I'm speaking out here today only about the way, how do we organize the content, not what is the content itself, but how do we organize the content so it will be better understood and better applied. That's the focus for today. I'm holding myself not to speak about how the content itself will be more innovative. I want to give one more tip. When you come to an organization, it already has 3,000 or 200 procedures of work. You don't throw them all to the garbage and start rewriting them. You train the people how to write the new ones, or those who have major changes. And you look every year for 5% of the procedures that you believe that the price, the cost of the non-working right, of people not working as to the procedure, is the highest. And where we see that this cost is the highest, that's where we recommend to rewrite the document. In other cases, we say, okay, wait for a major change or wait for a new procedure. And the organizations live very good with some that are in an old format, and year by year, more coming to the new format and getting better, easier to understand and easier to apply. And therefore, not only including what should be done, but also the best practices, what we as KMers love, what could be done and bring us to better performance. Okay, so that's all for today. thank you very much. And next week, we will speak about ISO 3041 and also about the great secrets and not only about the standard itself. So see you all within a week and have a great day, great evening, great night. Bye, KMOs.
Bye.
You great.
Thank you very much.
Great KM to all of us.
Bye-bye. Thank
See you
you.
next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.